Hi everybody, happy Wednesday. I hope you're all okay. I am absolutely fine, apart from some hay fever that is somewhere close to hell, but I am luckily getting through it thanks to some wonderful medicine. It has been so lovely to hear from you guys, both you guys at home and you in school, and I watched your videos the other day and they are very funny. So we are on chapter 6 of the London Eye Mystery. When we left it yesterday, Ted and Salem were having a bit of a sleepover, and they were discussing that they both had a pretty rotten time at school due to being a little bit different to everybody else. And we found out a bit more about how Ted's brain worked and that it wasn't necessarily the same as other people. So that was the night as well before they decided that they were going to go off to London and they were going to do some sightseeing to the London Eye, which I believe you guys have found out a bit more about, and also London in generally and what that looks like now. So, chapter 6, we go to the Eye. When I woke up, the sleeping bag on the lilo on the floor next to my bed was empty. I looked out of the window to do a weather check. The sun shone. The anti-cyclonic pattern of the recent days continued. Barometers would be set to dry and fair, and isobars would be far apart, just as I'd predicted yesterday. I found Salem with Kat in the bathroom. He had Dad's razor blade in his hand and was shaving off the faint hairs over his upper lip and laughing at the same time. "But I thought it looked good, Salem," Kat said. Salem turned and winked at me. "Thing is, the more you shave it, the more it grows back. It's like lawn mowing." This made Kat hoot with laughter. When owls hoot, it doesn't sound like humans laughing, so I don't know why people say hoot, but they do. Nor could I see any logic in hairs or grass growing longer by being cut off, but I laughed too because I wanted to be Salem's friend. Then I ran a finger over my own upper lip. There were no hairs there, and this was good. I wasn't sure about the idea of hairs growing on my face. For one thing, shaving is dangerous. Dad often comes out of the bathroom with bits of blood-drenched toilet paper stuck to his skin. For another thing, facial hair is a sign that we have evolved from apes. And when you remember that we evolved from apes, you have to admit how limited human intelligence is, mostly. Then we had breakfast. I had 43 shredders, Kat had toast, and Salem started on a bowl of cornflakes, but didn't finish it. Then we left the house with Mum and Aunt Gloria walking behind us, talking up a storm. This is one of my favourite things that people say. It doesn't mean they were arguing, which is what it might sound like. It means that they were talking non-stop and not paying attention to anything else around them. When storms happen, it's hard to pay attention to anything else. Kat and Salem and I walked in front together. I was on the side nearest the curb, hopping across the cracks in the paving stones and around the lampposts, with my hands in my pockets, which is how I like to walk best when I'm with other people. Then we passed the barracks. Salem said how huge it was, and I said it had 24 stories, and Kat said it would be flattened any day now by our Dad. "Never," said Salem. "Yeah," said Kat. "Why's it got to go?" "Dad says it was full of drugs and needles and cockroaches." Ugh. "Yeah, and the postman wouldn't deliver things there anymore." Salem looked up at it. That's some height. Then Kat pointed to another big tower. "That's where our mum works, Salem. Guy's Tower." "No way!" "Yep." The tower was silver and tall, and I could see Salem was impressed with London because he looked at the tall buildings with his eyes wide open and his mouth open. Then we had to go down onto the tube. Kat and Salem sat next to each other, and I saw 2 seats down between 2 strangers. I folded my arms across my chest to stop my hand flapping and shaking itself out, which is a habit Mr. Shepherd says I must lose. I stared at the tube map of London. It is a topological map. A topological map is a very simplified map that's not to scale, so with no relation to the real distances. The stops stand for places where you can get on or off, or sometimes change trains, and these are ordered in straight lines with junctions where in reality they're all higgledy-piggledy. If I'd been next to Salem, I would have talked about different kinds of map and explained how topological maps should never be confused with topographical maps. But when I looked over to where Salem was sitting, Kat was showing him the silver nail polish on her fingernails and asking him about his social life, which is the thing she always talks about. I tried to see if he was bored. When people are bored, Mr. Shepherd says the muscles in their face don't do anything and they stare without really looking. And he says I should always check to see if this is how people are looking when I talk to them. Salem was laughing and nudging Kat, so I deduced that he was not bored, although I would have been. We got out at Embankment Station so that we could walk over one of the Golden Jubilee bridges and see the view. The sky was blue, the river was grey, and the London Eye was white. The capsules moved so slowly they hardly seemed to move at all. Halfway across the Thames, Salem took an old-fashioned camera, the kind where you have to use a film, from his pocket. "That's an interesting camera," said Kat. "My mum gave it to me for going to New York. I wanted a digital one, but she says this kind will make a better photographer of me in the long run." Then he snapped everything in sight, including one of Kat and me together with the London Eye behind us. After he clicked, his mobile phone rang with its James Bond theme tune. He leaned over the bridge's rail and spoke into it like a spy on a 00 mission, as if he didn't want anyone to overhear. "That phone of yours," Aunt Gloria said when he'd finished the call and folded the mobile away. "Who was it this time?" "Just another friend," Salem said, "calling from Manchester to say goodbye. Let's keep going, we're running late." "Late for what, Salem?" I asked. "Late for the wheel." "You can't be late for the London Eye," I said. "It turns all day long, 2 times an hour, every hour until after dark." Big Ben donged 11 o'clock as we reached the ticket queue, which was very long. The two mums groaned. "It's infinite," Mum said. "No, it's not," I said. "Infinity. Why don't we come back later and go to the tape first?" Aunt Gloria said. "You promised!" Salem shouted. He stamped his foot and his eyebrows went down over his eyes. "Salem's right," Mum said. "We did promise. Glow, let's stick to last night's plan. Here, Kat, take this." She handed Kat some money in large notes. "You get the tickets and Gloria and I will sit at the cafe over there and wait. When you've got them, we'll join you in the queue." Kat's eyes went round and large as she took the money. She put it carefully away in her leopard skin backpack. Then she, Salem and I found the end of the ticket queue and joined it. A lady in front asked the lady in front of her if she knew how long the wait was. And the lady 2 people up the queue said it was half an hour to get tickets and another half hour to board. "A whole hour," Kat groaned. "Maybe that is too long." "Kat," I said, "an hour is a drop in the eternal ocean of time. That is what Father Russell at our church said once about the human lifespan." Salem grinned. "Too right." He took out his camera again and did another shot from where we were standing. I asked if I could take one. "Don't let him, Salem," Kat said. "Ted's useless at stuff like that. You'll end up with a paving stone and half a trainer." But Salem didn't listen. He gave me the camera and I aimed through the viewfinder to the crux of the wheel. It jogged when I pressed the button. I took the camera away from my eye to see a man walking towards us. He wore an old leather jacket, unzipped, and a black t-shirt with writing on it, but I didn't notice what it said. He was dark-haired with an afternoon shadow on his chin, which is what Dad says when he gets at weekends. Which is what Dad says he gets at weekends when he has a day off shaving. As the stranger drew near, he threw a cigarette to the ground and stubbed it out under his heel, for which he could have been fined £1,000 for dropping litter, but nobody seemed to notice apart from me. He came right up. "Excuse me," he asked. "Looking for a ticket?" Kat explained that we were queuing for 5 tickets. The strange man said he'd give us the one he had if we liked. He said he was up near the front of the queue to board, but he changed his mind. He just couldn't face it. "You can't face it," said Salem. He stared at the ticket in the man's hand and then up at the eye. I'm claustrophobic. I'd pass out being stuck in one of those Perspex pods." Forgetting that it is wrong to speak to strangers, I said, The pods are made of steel and glass, not perspex. That's worse. Glass? No thanks. The glass is reinforced. It's very safe and strong. So you don't want your ticket? Salem interrupted. It's yours for the taking. The strange man held it out. It's the 11:30 boarding. That girl over there, he turned and pointed to a girl in sunglasses and a pink fluffy jacket, is holding my place. They'll be boarding soon. Salem turned to Kat. What do you think? Dunno, said Kat. Mum said to get tickets for everyone. It's a very nice offer, but... My hand was shaking itself out because I had just remembered that you're not supposed to speak to strangers or accept gifts from anyone. But Salem had his hand up saying, well, none of us get up at this rate, at the rate this queue is moving. And Kat, I could see, was weighing things up in the balance, which means she was deciding what to do. As the oldest, she was in charge. Okay, she said, Mum and Auntie Glow will be glad to save the money, I bet, not to mention the time. And Ted and I have already been up. You take it, Salem. You're the guest. The man handed over the ticket and led us over to where he'd been standing in the queue. My hand shook itself out because this meant I wouldn't be flying the eye that day after all, and it was down to a stranger with an afternoon shadow whom we shouldn't even have talked to. Have fun, the man said, smiling. Thanks a million, said Salem. The edges of his lips nearly reached his ears. Kat and I kept Salem company in the queue until we got to the man who collected the tickets, who was shouting, 11:30 boarders, step this way! Salem gave up his free ticket, winked at us and laughed. Then he went with a group of people to the zigzag ramp at the eye's entrance. We'll meet you by the exit, Kat called. Over there! Salem nodded. We saw him through the glass, advancing up the gangplank until he'd become just a shadow. He reached the spot where the pod doors opened and closed, and his silhouette gave us a last wave. Then he got on with several others. I counted how many got on. 21, including him. The pod door closed behind them. I looked at my watch. It said 11:32, May the 24th. He'll be down at 12:02, I told Kat. Do we go for chapter 7? Yeah, I think I want to know what happens. Chapter 7, The Wheel Turns. Let's see if we can follow Salem on his way round, Kat said. The pod he was in was rising. By walking backwards, we found we could track it as it slowly arced from 6 o'clock anti-clockwise to 4 o'clock. While we watched, I started to tell Kat the facts I knew about the eye, how it was not really a Ferris wheel at all, and how on a clear day you can see for 25 miles from it. But she interrupted me and said, Do you like Salem, Ted? He's our cousin, which means we share 50% of our gene pool. Yeah, but do you like him? Don't you feel anything, ever? I like him, Kat. He's my friend. She nodded. He's cute. Cute, I said. Kat calls lots of things cute, including cats, football players, movie stars, skirts and babies, which means that cute doesn't mean much because if everything's cute, what isn't? Me, I suppose. I don't suppose Kat would ever call me cute. Salem's a mosher, I said. A mosher? It's northern for casual cool dude, I said, and he gets lonely, he told me. Really? Perhaps it's having to move to New York. I'd be lonely if I had to leave all my friends. We kept watching the London Eye go round. It was like a huge clock, only going anti-clockwise. Salem's pod moved from 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock, just as an aeroplane flew low overhead. Kat, I said. What? What does it mean when something is up your street? Huh? Salem said the Tempest would be right up my street. He acted in it at school last term. Kat laughed. We've been reading it at school too. Mr. Moynihan keeps making me read Miranda's part, and she's such a dish rag. I considered this. So it's not at your street? No way. The pod was nearing 1 o'clock. What do you think of Auntie Glow? Kat said. I remembered what Mum said about her leaving a trail of devastation in her wake. Then I remembered how she'd said I was like Auntie Warhol, a cultural icon. I don't know. Me neither. I heard Dad say to Mum that Auntie Glo drives him bananas, and I found 2 empty bottles of wine on top of the fridge. In my mind's eye, Auntie Gloria turned into a motorist with driving goggles and a huge consignment of bananas in the back seat. You mean she drives him bananas the same way I drive you nuts? I said. Bananas, nuts, round the bend, off your trolley, whatever. She laughed and I joined in because it showed I knew what she meant, even if I wasn't sure what was funny about Aunt Gloria making Dad feel insane. Then Salem's pod got to its highest point, 12 o'clock, and we both said, now, at the same time, and laughed again, and this time I meant the laugh. We'd been tracking the same pod, the exact one Salem was in. My watch said 11:47. He was right on schedule, and at the top the sun made the glass shine. The pod sank slowly to 9 o'clock. I remembered from the time we'd gone up before how, near the end of the ride, a souvenir photograph is taken automatically. The London Eye managers have fixed a camera into position so that a good shot of everyone is possible against a backdrop of Big Ben. It happens somewhere between 8 and 7 o'clock. I saw the dark figures inside Salem's pod gather to one side, facing out northeast to where the camera was. I even made out the flash. Then we walked back to where we'd arranged to meet Salem and waited for his pod to land. At 12:02 precisely, it came back down to earth. The pod doors opened. A group of 6 grown-up Japanese tourists came out first. Then came a fat man and a woman with their 2 small boys, who were also fat, which probably meant they all ate too much convenience food and needed to improve their diet. The girl in the fluffy jacket followed, arm in arm with her boyfriend. A big, burly man in a raincoat with white hair and a briefcase came out next. He looked like he should have been getting off a commuter train, not the Eye. And then came a tall, thin, blonde lady holding hands with a grey-haired man who was much shorter than her. Finally, 2 African women in flowing colourful robes came out, laughing like they'd just been at a fun fair. 4 children of various ages were with them, and they looked very happy. But of Salem, there was no sign. I knew straight away something was wrong. I said. Kat screwed up her face. I could have sworn he was in that one with the Japanese. The passengers wandered off in different directions. He must be on the next one. We waited, but he wasn't, nor the one after, or the one after that. A bad feeling slithered up my esophagus. Stay here, Kat said, gripping my hand, and don't move. She dropped my hand and ran off. I didn't like being left on my own in these crowds. I kept blinking and looking around, thinking Salem would rematerialise. Then I started to think I'd lost Kat too. Then I realised I didn't know how to find Mum and Aunt Gloria, which meant I was lost as well. My hand flapped, and I forgot about trying to stop it. Then Kat came back. No sign of Salem? No, Kat. I bought this, she said, a souvenir photo. I looked at all of them, the ones before and the ones after, but I couldn't find any with Salem in. This is the one with the Japanese and the African ladies. She showed me the photograph and I looked at the faces of strangers, smiling and waving at the camera. Various bits of people were chopped off as the pod had been quite full. You could see half a face here, an arm waving there, but nothing that looked remotely like Salem. Salem isn't there, I said. Then I said, Salem has disappeared. Kat groaned. Oh, Mum and Auntie Glo are going to be livid. Okay, so we will finish there because I've got 36 seconds until the end of our 20 minutes reading. I hope that you guys are having fun, whether you're at school or you're at home. Stay in touch and be good and wash your hands and all that business and stay alert, etc., etc. Take care and see you soon.